Pfizer had it going both ways, right, Michael? They got very huge revenue from the vaccine and potential booster revenue, but they also had the pill. If you didn't have the pill, like Moderna, you really got hit hard. What was that saying? More about valuation than the actual landscape?
Well, I think it speaks to the big debate, both socially and for these stocks, which is, are people going to get a booster in 2022 and beyond? And I think that two things were stated. One is we have another weapon against the fight for COVID, and infection rates keep going down, and people don't feel like they're going to get a booster. You throw on the fact that now we have one and maybe two oral pills to treat COVID, and many people who might not have gotten a booster would say, I don't know, don't worry. If I get COVID, I got a pill. So that's a social debate and a financial debate. And now people don't know if we're going to get boosters. So Moderna stock, Novavax stock, all these vaccine stocks have serious questions about revenue trajectory.
I mean, I understand human nature that, I don't want to necessarily do something if I'm not going to need it. But you don't want to wait to get COVID to take something to deal with getting COVID. It'd be, right. I mean, it's so obvious it'd be better in the first place to never get it. I mean, hopefully, I hope I'm not someone that eventually has to take this Pfizer therapeutic.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's in two ways, right? One is I point you back to flu vaccines. I mean, Joe, for 50 years, we've been taking flu vaccines. You don't take the flu vaccine because you're scared of going to the hospital. You take the flu vaccine because you don't want to get sick. Make sense? I think there's a bit of a social debate around it because at the end of the day, people don't even know if COVID's going to be around next year. I think we feel like flu is around every year anyways. But if COVID is not going to really be around in a big way next year or in the years following, people don't feel motivated to take a vaccine. If it does happen to come around and you do happen to get sick, maybe you get the pill. So bottom line is, the visibility for the sales of boosters are obviously in question, and everyone's bailing on these stocks saying, look, I'll come back to it. Doesn't look like COVID's going to be a problem. Obviously, the infection rates and the curves, Joe, are going down every day, and it's looking pretty good. So people feel pretty good. Yeah.
But it's 30 degrees when I wake up now it's the middle of the night, but it's 30 degrees. So it's getting cold again. And there's always the fear, I don't know whether it's rational or not, of another variant at any time. Will these stocks like Moderna and some of the others, Moderna's the pure play, seems like. I mean, even though maybe it shouldn't be, maybe it can use this technology for a lot of other things. But just for COVID vaccines, it seems to be the pure play. Is that going to be in a trading range now? They would never hope for another variant, but bulls on the stock, is that what it would take for Moderna?
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call the trading level here. You look at the chart, obviously, it's basically completely reverted back down to where it broke out earlier in the summer. But I think there's probably three trading catalysts that probably get it to bounce. One is that they do have flu vaccine data. I know this hasn't been talked about a lot, but both Pfizer and Moderna with the mRNA technology has the first ever flu data that's supposed to look better than a lot of the other flu vaccines. So that data is coming soon, suggesting they do have a big pipeline of other respiratory vaccines, which they do. Should pay attention for that. Secondly, I think you're absolutely right. With people coming back into the winters for Thanksgiving, for holidays, it would not shock me to see the curve move up a little bit. And from a trading perspective, everyone rushes back to say, oh my God, here we go. And the stocks start to move up again after a huge pullback. And third is, of course, I think you're right, the fear of any sort of variance, any sort of issues that break out at the start of the year, I think stocks move back up. So trading-wise, I think that's the case. But philosophically and big picture, I think the stocks are range-bound, because I do think the fact is we're going back to work. We're going to be traveling again. COVID's probably going to be staying at a low level for a while.
Hey, Michael, how long do you think it'll be before we actually have these pills available and anybody who wants them can get them? There are going to be limitations to how much Merck and Pfizer can kind of pump out.
Yeah, it's a great question. Without getting too much into the weeds here, look, Merck actually got approval in the United Kingdom last week. That was the first global country to approve it. The United States has an FDA panel later this month. I expect that probably to be approved by the end of the year and available for higher risk patients. And Pfizer is filing to the FDA shortly, so that should be available by end of the year, early 22. So, they'll be available in the coming month or two, and hopefully we're not going to need a significant number of those.